Welcome to the Deepers Creepers podcast, where we like to get high and talk about horror movies. I'm Casey.
And I'm Jess. And this week we're going to be talking about VHS 94. I know there's a newer one out since then, but this is one of Casey's personal favorites, so I'm just happy to cover a found footage movie. I know we have in the past, but I'm a huge found footage fan, so ready to jump right into it.
Yes! And this is definitely one of the, probably longest running, other than Paranormal Activity, found footage. And it's kind of niche, because I feel like really only horror fans really know about it. Whereas,
or really enjoy it.
Yeah, whereas, Paranormal Activity, everyone knows Paranormal. But yeah, I hadn't seen this in a while, and I haven't seen a lot of the others in a while either. But I just remembered really liking this one. I haven't seen 99 yet, so we're going to have to watch that.
You know, I watched it once, but I think I was really drunk because I don't remember it.
That's fair. But before we get to any of that, little business to take care of.
Business.
So, a few weeks ago, hopefully you all tuned in to our Guess the Score episode, where Jess played a game that I made up and tortured her with.
It was really hard.
It was very hard, and she did a really good job, and she won a prize. So, here's your prize.
Can I open it?
Yes. You will never run out of fucks to give, because you got a whole jar of them.
It says fucks to give on the top. Oh my god, I bet it's going to be so cute.
It is pretty cute.
Oh my god.
I'll post a picture on the Instagram. But yeah, you got to get that ASMR in there.
Oh my god, I just want to throw them all.
I know. I figured maybe you could paint them or throw them or I don't even know.
I'm going to give them out at work.
Yeah.
Be
like, this is my last fuck today, so.
I'm going to hurt some people's feelings
really
with
cute
these.
And tiny.
They are.
I love it.
I love them.
Yay!
Thank you.
Congratulations on your prize.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. I have already been thinking of other games, so we'll play another game episode soon.
I'll get tortured again.
Also working on a research episode, so we're going to get academic in this bitch.
Yeah.
Because we went to college. I didn't do a whole lot, but...
I didn't finish, but... Anyways.
I changed majors 3 times, dude. Anyway, we're going to get on to the movie now. So yeah, I discovered VHS, the original one, from Katie, who, previous episode, if you've been a long-time listener now, she was on our episode of Funny Games. She introduced me to VHS, and I fell in love immediately from that very first short, she's somewhere on my walls. She's over there, the succubus from the very first short of the very first one. I like you.
We didn't, again, plan that.
I don't want to edit that part. I feel like it's cursed.
I like you.
Anyway.
That was really creepy. We need to, just have, a video clip that's like, I like you, I like you, I like you.
That may be our first TikTok video. Ooh. Anyway.
That's a great idea.
Anyway. So, I saw that and I was like, okay, I'm hooked. I loved the premise. It was basically, the first movie was, let's get a few horror directors together and each let them put together a really fucked up horror short and then, frame it with something. I love all these movies. The framing devices always suck. Horrible.
Yeah, my thing is, 2 of my favorite subgenres of horror are found footage and anthology. And when you put them together, you have a movie after my heart.
Yeah.
So I think my personal favorite of the series was the second one. But I only say that because it has my favorite short in it. And that's the one where they're in that school and it's like a mass suicide. And then the fucking Baphomet comes out of fucking nowhere. And it's really scary.
Wow, I haven't seen that in forever. I don't remember any of that.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I gotta rewatch that one. Okay, so obviously I think about the first one. I think about the succubus one. I think about the couple on the road trip.
Yep, and the Zoltar.
Yes. So those are kind of what I think of when I think of the first one. The second one, I feel like, and the third one, I maybe have only seen once.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Viral.
Oh, Viral was 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Katie and I rewatched Viral recently, and it's not great. It's probably my least favorite.
I would say it's probably mine, too.
And then she and I also watched 94 together when it first came out, which was 2021 was when it was released. And it was that very first short that got me, and I was like, ooh, I really like Raatma. I'm kind of on board. And then the rest of them were pretty good. And then that last one, of course, we'll talk about all these. That last one, I was like, I just really this is like my favorite one since the first one, I think. And then I haven't seen 99, so if you can vouch for it, I totally trust you.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's true. So
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. So yeah, like I was saying, the whole premise of these movies is each short is directed by someone else, written and directed by a different person, and they're kind of all put together in some sort of framing device. This one is framed with a drug raid. These cops are like running through trying to raid this place, and it's obviously set in 1994. And then there's these TVs and screens everywhere, like old ass TVs and VHS tapes just playing, and
a lot of dead bodies.
A lot of dead bodies. People with
staring
no
at
eyes.
Well, like their bodies are like facing these like TVs that are just static, and their eyes have been like plucked out, and they're sitting right next to them.
Yes.
It's everywhere. It's
and
creepy.
So every once in a while you'll go back to the framing device and it'll like go to one of the screens that's playing, and that'll be the next short, so it'll go into that screen. And that's kind of the premise of most of these. Like Viral, one of the reasons I really didn't like that is because I hated the framing device. He's like riding around on a bike, and there's like videos that keep popping up on his phone. I don't know. The first one is literally them trying to find some VHS tape, which is where the name comes from. I'm sure we'll cover other ones in future episodes, because I like a lot of them. Even Viral has its moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she said, I mean, found footage, anthology, good effects. I mean, and they're all like original, creepy little shorts. So, but today, of course, we're going to be talking about 94. And I will kind of go through the directors a little bit as we go through each short. So yeah, we'll start with the original framing device. It opens on, and everything has this amazing VHS filter on it where you can see the tracking lines and
the date.
I love it. It's like, obviously that makes it easier on special effects because you can't see them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that also makes it scarier because you can't see it as well.
It's very true.
So, it's these like 3 or 4 or 5 cops trying to raid this warehouse or something.
Yeah.
The framing devices rarely make a whole lot of sense, especially on first watch. But it's really creepy. We see this woman, she's like sitting in this chair, and she's just counting down like 10, 9 in this like very robotic-y kind of voice.
Mm-hmm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's just kind of scary.
It was a little creepy. I was like, I don't like her counting. Like, we need to go.
Yep, and there's this one, and she keeps repeating this thing, all are welcome, all are watching, something forever starts right now. And it's just very foreboding, kind of just like, the end of the world is near.
Oh yeah, it was really creepy.
The end is near.
I love
we
that.
are all gonna die.
You make the Lord very nervous. All right.
I loved it that when they were like, he was like going over the code names to the cameraman that was with them. He was like, 29.9 means erase the fucking tape.
Erase the fucking tape.
I was like, you knew some shit was gonna be in there.
Right.
That's like such a cop thing to say.
Oh my god, yeah. That's
erase the tape. It never happened.
I'm sure they say that a lot. That's why there's a code for it. What was I gonna say? Oh, the set design of this framing device is really cool. It's very Backrooms, if you've ever seen the Backrooms on
totally.
YouTube. It's just very haunted house. It literally kind of feels like you're walking through a commercial haunted house, but like in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And we get to our first video very quickly. It just zooms into this like old boxy television. And we are in... I know they all have a name, so I should go ahead and say their official name as I do that. So that's what we're gonna do. This first one is called... Storm Drain. Okay, that makes sense. I don't recognize really. Oh, she was the director of Watcher from 2022. Did you see that? It came out last year.
Mm-mm.
It was just a very just run-of-the-mill thriller about this girl who moves to a different country. I saw it in theaters. My experience was kind of ruined by the other people in the theater. Whatever, it's fine. It was a decent movie. Not groundbreaking, not insane, but I didn't hate it.
Okay.
So apparently she directed that. Chloe Okuno is who did that. So this first one is called Storm Drain, and I call it Raatman.
And who is the writer for that one? Because I think
She's writer-director.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it must be a different short that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So, yes, she is writer-director, and I love this one.
You know, it's really creepy. It's got a storyline that I would believe. Essentially there's this reporter and cameraman. They're doing a story on some,
Urban legend. A local legend.
A local legend. She says, this town's Loch Ness Monster.
Yes.
I was like, okay, so this is your cryptid.
This town's Bigfoot.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's this town's, even if you live in a small town or have been around a small town, every small town has a haunted bridge or a haunted, something or another.
El Chupacabra.
Yes.
Mothman.
So, they have this Raatman, and we see these little clips of townspeople talking about the legend, and they all feel so authentic.
It really does.
Because they all feel really awkward, and because no one, people who get interviewed by the people on the news are typically A, not very smart, and B, well, not always, but they get some crazy people on there. But you don't know how to act in front of the camera because you're not a camera personality, so it's just normal people kind of sort of telling a story, but they don't really know what they're saying, and they're kind of awkward about it, and they just all feel really authentic. And there's this really funny part where she's like, so where did you first see the Raatman? And this guy goes to point, and he points with his giant fucking gun, and he's like, arr, arr. And she's like, okay, we need to leave.
Yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna go right now. But it's so, like you said, authentic to me because of the interviews and things like that, but also because, this reporter's, at first she's pissed off that her boss wants her to, get in further, into this, sewer system.
Like a big storm drain. He wants her to film, right inside.
Yeah, and then, she's like, fine. And then she starts to, have the idea of, oh, I could make this a bigger story.
Right.
And I was like, I feel like that would absolutely happen. That's some Gale Weathers shit right there.
Oh, absolutely. You get some cookie cutter nothing story that's going to air in a 30-second segment, even though you filmed forever. If you've ever seen Bruce Almighty, I used to love that. I don't know why that just came to mind, but he gets the little shitty cookie stories, and then you find something, you're like, oh shit, this is going to be my big break. This is the story that's going to make me anchor. Mm-hmm. And so that's essentially what we get. This segment is very much based in Ohio, and I think the Midwestern feel of it may be part of the contributing factor to why I love it.
It's very Midwestern.
Very Midwestern. It is Ohio. They literally call out the Buckeyes later.
And the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just feels very homegrown. So she goes in this drain, she starts filming. They see some creepy stuff, hear some creepy stuff. They realize there's a man living down there. And they see this guy, he's all covered in dirt and gook and mud, and he starts bleeding out of his mouth or some black goop stuff, and he just keeps saying, Raatman. And it's scary. And so they're like, we need to get out of here. But of course, she does want to do this kind of story. She falls behind, and then he gets attacked. And then when the camera comes back on, we don't know who's holding it anymore.
Yeah.
Because we see the guy who was the camera guy, his name's Jeff. And it's really funny because at one point, Holly goes, Jeff, fuck you. And I just wrote, same. Just kidding, I love you. But yeah, so they both end up getting captured. It's we're in this cavernous area in the sewer system, and this guy who had been one of the interviewees earlier, and I just noticed on this second time around that it was him. He's the priest that's the sinners are gonna pay for, and the righteousness is gonna come. And so he's the guy that ends up in this like area, and he's like, you know, this is the new god.
Raatma.
Yes. So oh, anyway, so yeah, he's, you know, he's talking very apocalyptic terms. He is talking about you know, he is here to judge, and we see this like thing coming out from like this tunnel. And this is my favorite part of this movie, is this tiny little segment of Raatman.
Time to see if you're welcome in the new world.
His design is fucking incredible. It is so over the fucking top, disgusting.
It's so gross.
It's almost parodiable. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fucking crazy that, like, of course they went there. I just think he is disgusting looking.
He's got this, like, acid tar that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah, and so the way you are judged is, so they put some of the tar stuff on Jeff's face and he melts. And
a lot of face melting in this movie. I love it.
I'm a big fan of face melting.
Me too. This felt very like, you know, the body horror of the 80s.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, I'm wearing Silver Shamrock right here. Halloween 3, when her like skin, anything where the face is gone and you can see the skull underneath.
I love.
10 out of 10. I am so fucking on board.
Me too.
And so we get a little bit of that later. So yeah, then they make Raatman like puke on Holly, who's our main character, and she doesn't melt. So I guess that's how you're judged. If you melt, you're bad. If you're good, you're cool by Raatman. Which is cool by me, dog. So I just think his design is so creepy. He's pink skin, but like hair. Ew.
And like when he's coming out of the tunnel, like I don't know if you felt this way, but every time I watched it, like his face looks like a weird skeleton, and then when he gets out, you see that it's like a nose, and like it changes, but it's horrifying no matter what it looks like. Like either of the forms that like I saw with my eyes in that moment were terrifying.
It feels like one of those designs where like whoever came up with it like doodled something out and they're like, this is what I want it to look like. But then the studio usually comes in and makes it like less, you know what I mean? They're like, no, that's a too over the top. But no, they just went with the original sketch on this one.
Nailed it.
Another reason that I love this one is because then after he pukes all over her and we see she's not really melting, she's just crying and screaming, it cuts to a commercial break. And it's the veggie masher. And like they have like a whole bell pepper in like the thing, and it just like, it doesn't chop it, it just gets all like mashed.
It's mash. Yeah, it just turns it into mash. It's hilarious.
It's really funny. So it's this like just like parody commercial, and that was written and directed by its own director. Oh my god, how did I just realize this? It was written and directed by Steven Kostanski, who's like a huge horror director. He did The Void, he did Leprechaun Returns, he was a huge part of the It 2016, he did makeup effects for Crimson Peak. He's a huge special effects artist.
And he
Holy
did the Veggie Masher?
He directed the Veggie Masher episode.
That's hilarious.
Oh my god, yeah, and he also did Psycho Goreman. He did the special effects for Psycho Goreman.
That's fucking awesome.
Steven Kostanski is a fucking legend in his own right. I cannot believe I just realized he did the Veggie Masher.
That's amazing.
So, that's why I try to research these things, because then I find out amazing things like that. So then we cut back, and Holly looks beautiful. She's got her new hair. She's the co-anchor of the news thing that we saw open, and he's like, you know, we're so glad we have Holly back. She was her harrowing story where she was pulled from the drain. Jeff's still missing.
In, like, the black tar. And...
He's like, Jeff is still missing. And she's like, yeah, thank you so much. And she starts talking, and she's like, and then we're going to have a Raatma dance and something Raatma. And she just keeps replacing random words with Raatma. And he just looks over at her, and she just...
Well, she started bleeding a little bit out the mouth, and then he's like, I think we need to take a break. And then she fucking
vomits all over his face, and his face peels from his skull, and it's my favorite thing. It's so bright because it's a studio lighting in this newsroom. It's so good. It
reminds me of Scanners.
It really got
like
me.
the head scene, just because like that's like kind of a similar like
Agreed.
setting,
Yeah.
you know.
It's when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh man, I am so on board for this movie."
I really did like that scene.
And then after that, she's like, and next week our, something Indiana Hoosiers are going to face off against blah, blah, blah. Good luck to our Buckeyes. Hail Raatma. And yes, I am into it.
Okay, I did like Raatma. That one was, it was ridiculous in the best way.
Yes, it was. So we get a little more in between of nothing. They're the framing device is these cops yelling for each other, saying, "Where's Gary? Where's this guy? I don't know. We need to get out of here.
We need to call back up." And they're like, there are two female cops and they kept protesting. They're like, "No, we'll be okay. Like, let's just try to like finish the job, assess the rest of the situation." So it's like a really pointless little transition scene, but I did think it was kind of creepy because there were these church pews. And there were a bunch of, like, mannequins, and they had, like, the eyeballs next to them. And I thought that was creepy.
Mannequins are creepy.
Especially with real human eyeballs next to them.
What's that, the Uncanny Valley or whatever?
Oh, well, that 100%. I have a mannequin at work that's, like, my friend. I put bloody tears on her. I put lipstick on her. I have.
No, I like her.
Yeah, she's great, but she's the only one.
She's like, she and I have come to an understanding. We're good. The rest of them can fuck off.
Yeah, I wanted to make a joke, but in today's political climate, I will not. But I'm just saying, if anything bad were to happen and mannequins come back to life, I know she's got my back.
Back to life? Mannequins were alive once?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know the history of mannequins. That's some research we should do. Let's move on, because they're really scary.
The next one I call Funeral Home, but actually, it's called The Empty Wake, which is a way better name.
Oh, yeah, I called it Funeral Home Scene.
Yeah, well, it's called The Empty Wake, and it was written and directed by Simon Barrett. Again, another unbelievably acclaimed horror writer, who not only wrote segments for this, the original, and VHS, too. He also wrote the 2016 Blair Witch.
I love the 2016 Blair Witch.
2014 The Guest. And previous episode, 2011's You're Next. Yeah,
and
this
you know
man's
how
amazing.
much I love that
and
movie.
Simon Barrett was one of the bad guys in You're Next. He was the writer-director.
Yeah.
And he was like Lamb Mask or whatever.
Yeah.
So he wrote and directed this. I love him.
That's amazing.
And this is like a decent segment, but also like... I like it, but it wasn't groundbreaking, if that makes sense. But there were some really fucking creepy parts to it.
I thought it was pretty creepy.
Yeah. If you want to start it, yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially there's this funeral home, and there's this young woman who is going to be staying overnight because the wake that they're having starts at 9 p.m. And so the funeral director was just like, okay, so... thank you.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go from there?
Yeah. So, the funeral director, like, left her in charge, and whoever is throwing this wake for this man, Andrew Jackson, I think.
Sounds like a president.
It absolutely does. Anyway, whoever is throwing this wake for him wants it to be recorded, and so we've got like 3 different camera angles, and her instructions are sit there, change out the videotapes, greet people when they come in, give them their little pamphlet things, let people grieve. Okay, sounds easy enough. But then she's in alone. There is a raging storm outside, and no one shows up. So she's just alone with a dead body and a camera.
And before the guys left, one of them was like, the coffin is crooked.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that earlier.
It was the coroner who said it.
Oh, yeah.
And she like looks a little freaked out. He's like, honey, it's fine. I stitched the guy back together as best I could. Like, the guy is dead. He was in pieces.
His face, it's like, he's like, I did my best with the bottom half, but his face.
So the top half is just, whatever. So, she's getting a little freaked out, and she eventually, at one point, she calls her friend on this super chunky 1990s phone. Like, it's the phone I used for my Casey Becker costume. She uses the phone to call her friend and say, hey, can you look through the obituaries? I just want to know, like, what happened to this guy, that the wake is for. One guy, the lights keep fucking flickering. So scary.
It was.
One guy eventually shows up.
Super weird interaction.
And he like starts speaking in a different language.
And like
blessing the casket. And she like gets the chairs back in order because she was just kind of chilling. She just assumed nobody was showing up to this fucking guy's funeral.
Yeah.
And he goes to leave, and she's like, "Are you sure you don't want to stay? Can I get you anything?" He says, "No, I've paid my respects in full," and he just dips, which is so fucking weird.
It is. And she kept trying to like call her boss when like the little things would happen. She's freaking out, and like literally, like the coroner was like, "If you call him again, he's going to fire you."
Yes.
And so she like feels like she can't take anything like seriously, and she's like, you're right, he's dead, I just need to chill. But I wouldn't be fucking chill, I'd be out of there.
Yes.
But why can't she be out of there, Casey?
Because the doors are chained.
Who did that?
Motherfucking chainsaw. I assume the guy.
I assume the guy too.
Yeah, I assume that guy. I wonder if what he was saying was like an incantation of some kind.
Maybe.
But anyway, so like it's really funny because the lights keep going off, and she's on the phone with her friend, and all the power goes out. So of course the phone goes out because 1994. That wouldn't happen. One of the really awesome things about the modern day. So anyway, every time she leaves and comes back, the casket's like a little bit askew or something. And this time she goes to leave, the doors are completely like chains all the way around it. She comes back, and the casket is on the floor and open.
It's open!
And there is nothing in there. And she's got the camera, because the only light she has is the
flashlight on the camera.
Yeah, the light on the camera. And so she's kind of using that to light her way, which I think is a really clever device for a found footage, because in a found footage you're usually wondering, well, why are they still recording?
Yeah.
Well, she needs the light.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, which
shouldn't
is like,
have blew out those fucking candles.
Yeah.
That was so stupid.
A whole scene of her going to the closet, grabs the candles, comes back, lights them, power goes on, she blows them out.
Bitch, you know that's probably going to happen again.
Just leave them lit.
I mean, it's not going to be that much light, but she would have had something.
Exactly.
But what do I know?
Yeah, so she's like looking around with her little camera, and she sees the guy like facing toward the wall, just standing there, and she's like, you've been in an accident, like, you're fine, it's okay, let's get you some help, there's been a mistake. And he like turns around, and his whole half of his head is like missing.
There's some kind of a mistake at the morgue.
It's so, and he's just like falling apart.
His like hand falls off, and his guts are falling out, and he can't see her. So she's like turning the light on and off, and he can't see her, but he can hear her.
Ugh.
And she's like figuring that out.
And then she like saw his hand, and that's when she screamed, and he's like fucking sprinted at her.
Yes, and then a big tornado. The tornado blows through the fucking windows. Like, what the fuck?
It was so much happening.
So much happening. And then, anyway, yeah, so then she... the thing blows through, it cuts, and then it, like, cuts to a camera angle of her, like stumbling out in the wreckage. And we forgot to say earlier, so here's my theory. So earlier when she was on the phone with her friend was like, yeah, I went to look through the obituaries, but I didn't even need to, because the guy you asked about was on the front page. He was the guy from like last week that was on top of that church for like 3 hours and then jumped off and killed himself. And I wonder if Andrew had seen the same thing, like a dead body or, you know, one of the like living dead, went crazy, killed himself, the cult or whatever that's controlling the zombified people then went to zombify Andrew Jackson's body, and so now our main character is going to go kill herself. I probably read way too far into that.
You know, I didn't get any of that, but I like your theory. I was just like, I'm pretty sure she killed herself in the end.
Yeah, she definitely did. I mean,
But no, I love that. I love that theory, though.
Yeah, I mean, each little segment, like, even though it's just a fun little horror segment, like, they can all, like, very much be read into. This has, you know, what is death? When is death? When does... You know, just all of that. The first one is very, you know, what is happening right below our feet? What do cults, you know, what are the real implications of actual real life cults today? Things like that. Just, I mean, they all have their underlying themes, but they're also fun on the surface too, without having to deep dive if you don't want to.
I enjoyed this little moment. I'm a big fan of traditional kind of ghost stories and things that just are eerie and don't need a whole lot of...
Very simple. It's
simple.
One girl and then a casket.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed the simplicity of it because it did, like, remind me of, like, the older ghost stories that I, like, used to love as a kid, or, like, something I'd read in scary stories to tell in the dark.
That's exact. It feels
so
like one
for
of
me,
those
it's, like,
stories.
a little, like, nostalgic kind of feeling when I watch it. You know,
Or
I'm, like I feel like a
one
kid,
of those
like...
stories that, like, an older friend or older sibling tells you, and you, like, they tell you as if, like, oh, yeah, you know, our friend blah, 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 her grandma used to work at this funeral home.
And this happened.
And you hear these ghost stories. I also, I don't know why I just thought of this, but I've had an idea whenever we have guests on to do, like, have, like, do a little segment of them telling their favorite, like, real ghost story that they always knew, and then put them together as one long episode. So just have, like, a bunch of our friends, like, even if you were at the bar or something, or, you know, at work, the audio wouldn't be great, but I don't give a shit, like, record on your phone, like, just them telling their favorite ghost story, and I'll put some spooky music to it.
I love that.
That would be a fun extra.
That would be.
Yes. Because, like, my mom has a bunch. I know Zach has some.
I do, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know plenty of people. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think Caitlin has some, too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And just have, you know, just everybody do their own little, you know, well, my mom told me, and then you go with your little ghost story.
Or it could even be, like, things that have happened to them, too. We don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, that, too. Like, oh, when I was, you know, so-and-so, one time I saw this, and... Love that. Anyway, so if any of our listeners or friends wants to record themselves and send any in,
that'd be awesome. We'll put it in.
Yes. Oh, absolutely, we will. Anyway, so these little in between parts don't really matter. The frame like wraparound doesn't really matter until the end. So we'll just move on to the next short, which I called Science Experiment. What did you call it?
Crazy Doctor.
Okay, well, it's called The Subject. I like Crazy Doctor. That's mine.
Thank you, because he was.
Yes. So, Crazy Doctor was written by Timo... I am so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Jahanto? I don't know. So, you have a great name, though. He did some directing for this, the second one. I'm not really seeing... He did some segments for... Oh, he did segment L for the ABCs of Death.
What did he direct in the second one, does it say?
Safe Haven?
That's my favorite one.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that
yeah.
when he directed this one, and it's my least favorite of this movie.
It's my least favorite, too,
Which
sadly.
Sucks.
I know a lot of people who really love this clip.
And I get it. I do.
It was way too long. It needed to be edited down to like half the length.
Yes, that is a big thing. It is very long. And it goes it does too much. Like, it jumps around a lot. Like, it starts with the doctor, and then it goes to the girl, and then it goes to the guy, and then it goes back to the girl.
It starts with a random dude with his head attached to a fucking robot spider. That's it.
It looked like that Sid's toy from
Toy Story.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
So, That might be this week's little clip of us just...
And we need to, like, do the... What did we whisper earlier? I like you. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
I did the thing. Anyway.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, they definitely could have
today.
edited it down a lot.
It was a lot.
But the one thing I will say about this is if this was a video game, because it's very video game style, that's what it's meant to emulate.
Very, like, first person.
That's what it's meant to emulate. Which is fine, because if this was a video game, I would play this game so fucking hard.
I would absolutely play this game.
Looks so fun, but I'm not playing this game, I'm watching it, which makes it not as fun.
I also love watching people play video games, and it didn't feel like that to me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel very video gamey really until like the task force that was assigned to bringing this guy down because all these people had gone missing.
Really, once Big Guy gets up.
Yeah.
Big Guy Megazord.
Yep. So it wasn't until like way later in this already too long clip that I realized that that's what it was going for. And I've seen it a couple times, and I still feel that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that bothered me is I feel like it was supposed to feel like that the entire time, but I didn't get that.
And it's juggling this squad team action video game with this
Fucked
missing
up,
girl,
brutal
Cronenberg-esque body horror turning into a machine, and they just don't collide very well. It feels like it could be fleshed out into a movie. It really does, or a full-fledged game, and I think it would make an incredible gameplay. Like, the gameplay is you wake up, you're a missing girl, you wake up, you're half robot, and you have to escape the facility. I think that would be an incredible game. A 15-minute short that was supposed to be 8 minutes is a little, it's
Was
it
it
drags.
only 15 minutes?
It might be a lot longer. Who
Oh, I
knows?
think it's a lot longer.
Yeah, it probably is.
I'm probably being dramatic, but oh my god.
Yeah, I have no idea how long it is. Anyway, it needed to be about half the length. But we start with this crazy, dirty doctor doing these crazy, dirty experiments, and he's wondering why they don't work. Well, because your fucking lab is filthy.
Oh my god, yeah. I was like, why is he so fucking filthy?
Yes. So he is building these experiments. He's obviously, taking humans and adding, like camera parts, robot parts, making human android robot hybrid things, because he's a mad scientist. He is the god of his world. He literally, when, they label her as SA, or her initials is the missing girl, so that's what it labels her. When she wakes up, he literally goes, my child. Like, he is the god of his universe. Like, 100%. This man is fucking mad balls crazy.
Yeah, and it was crazy, too, because he had that the news playing, and that's when she, like, saw herself on the news, and he's like, wow, like, you recognize your old life. I gotta fucking put a stop to that.
That was another very, like, religious, kind of, I don't know, religious sounding, turn of phrase, because he goes, oh, you remember your old life, you need to be truly reborn, and he, like, I guess tries to wipe her memory, and then she attacks, and then the SWAT team shows up.
What we forgot to mention earlier is there was another guy in the room with her, maybe we did mention it, but yes. He's kind of chained up while she's getting her, like, skull fucking sawed open. I thought that scene was kind of cool.
Ugh, yeah.
But, yeah, so he's still there. We don't really know if he's alive yet, but he has a fucking sword for an arm.
The biggest sword!
It's, like, very, like, fucking Silent Hill.
I was just about to say Pyramid Head! Yes, it looks just like his sword, because it's, like, got, like, a long, flat end. Ooh. Also, he's sexy.
As a robot?
Monster fucker extraordinary.
Oh, wait,
here.
as a
I
robot?
meant Pyramid Head.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you meant the robot guy in this movie. I was like,
no,
I'm
Pyramid Head.
uncomfortable.
Pyramid Head.
No, that's fine.
Yum. I totally ship him and Bandage Nurse Girl. I don't know what either of their names are, but
yeah, that'd be pretty hot.
So, once they get in, the SWAT team comes in, they attack the guy. It's a pretty decent action sequence, because once they kill the guy, Mega Sword guy gets up and starts attacking, and he is, like, got these, like, frog-style eye robot things that, like, come up. Like, he looks like a fucking robot from Futurama. He's styled like a Futurama-style robot. 100%.
Yeah, that kind of took me out of it.
And, like, I get that, like,
because it was camp.
And obviously the effects look really shitty because they look video game. And I get that that's supposed to be it, but again, like we said, it's not that the whole time.
Or at least it wasn't evident to us that that's what it was supposed to be.
And we've both watched this several times now, so it feels like they're trying to tell two different stories, and they keep kind of bouncing back and forth, because then we're with the SWAT team for a while, and then the girl wakes up, and she walks around, and then she sees her reflection, she punches through the reflection, she finds the top half of her head in a jar. That was the scariest fucking thing.
That was so creepy.
Can you imagine, like, you're walking around, you don't really know what's going on, you lift up a blanket, and there's a jar, and it's the top half of your head. Yours. Scary.
That's really scary.
So yeah, then she sees her reflection, like, the top half is, like, a camera, basically, like, mounted to the top of her head, and she's got, like, half of her arm is cut off, the right side, and it's got, like, this big metal thing on the end of it. But she gets to Ash Williams out with that shit later, and that is so badass.
Yeah. But there's, like, after she's doing this kind of walking around exploring what's going on, she sees this girl on this fucking gurney, and she is just in really fucking bad shape. She's, like,
midsection is, like,
splayed open. And just fucking covered.
From sternum down
to wires.
Yeah.
And that girl, like, essentially pulls her plug.
Yeah, literally pulls the plug out of her neck.
And she died. Like, I was like, yes, please put that poor girl out of her misery.
Yes.
Because that's, like, a thing that the police said when they saw our main girl is that, like, I'm not bringing that back to her parents.
Yes.
I'm not bringing that thing back to her parents.
Yeah,
and I was like,
now the SWAT team's also trying to kill her and Sword Guy, because they don't want them to get out, obviously. And, because, yeah, one of the SWAT team's like, no, I don't want to kill her. She's innocent. She's that missing girl. And they're like, I'm killing this fucking abomination of a thing. It's a monster. Look at it.
And he's like, it's not your call to make. And he's like, well, I'm going to make it.
I'm going to make that call. So, yeah, after she does that, she finds the gun. It, like, clicks perfectly into her arm. It's very Ash Williams, especially... I almost wore my Army of Darkness shirt. In Army of Darkness, when he's down there and they throw down his chainsaw and he, like superhero jumps up and it just, like, clicks in. I fucking love those movies.
So good.
Groovy.
Okay, we're going to Horror Hound next month, and if we can find a time that Bruce Campbell's line isn't atrocious, I might try to meet him.
Oh, yeah.
But his line is always hours long.
You know, if Sunday you want to camp out... I'll go walk around. I'll bring you snacks. We'll stand in line so you can go pee
by Sunday.
We're there. We got weekend passes, baby. We could do it. Friday. We could do it. Saturday. We could do it Sunday.
What bitch? I'm
That's
so
all
excited.
I got.
If any of you fuckers see us there, you better shout us. Shout
Be
at
like,
me.
hey,
motherfucker.
Hey, guys, you guys. You're the Deepers Creepers guys.
What's your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony!
Just come up and say, stay spooky, bye.
Bye. I want to make shirts that look
I know,
spooky,
me too.
Bye. So anyway, she is fighting these guys. This is when I wrote, I really want to play this game. Because, yeah, she's, like, using people to shield people. She's cutting people's heads off. It's so fucking cool. It's definitely the best part of this little sequence. And she's murdering a bunch of them. She gets to the guy that was going to help her. He kills his boss. And in the corner of, because we've been in first person view of her camera, and in the corner of her camera, it says live, because it's a live feed. And the only time it doesn't say that in the corner is when she's dead, because she's no longer alive.
I really didn't think about that. My mind really is blown.
Exactly. I thought that was pretty clever. She was live, and then it doesn't say live anymore because she's dead.
It should have said dead. That would have been really funny.
But really, her camera just goes out because she's dead.
Yeah, her and the robot guy basically kill each other.
It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty cool showdown, but they do
Yeah.
murder the fuck out of each other.
Well, she like saved that guy, or that guy saved her.
Yeah,
and then robot boy came and stabbed him, and yeah, it was pretty brutal and
but
sad.
At least he died too. That was another. He is a very backrooms monster. That guy is, like, the way he like runs after and chases. If anyone's seen the Backrooms, that very first video when the guy like no clips into the Backrooms and is like running from that like monster that kind of looks like it's got a camera for a head, and it looks like this monster.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I like it.
I did too. He was creepy.
He was creepy. But again, overall, a lot of things could be edited. Please turn that into a video game. Somebody. Ooh, I can't wait for the Killer Clowns video game to come out.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yes. Ooh. Anyway. So.
We go back to the damn boring fucking cop scenes.
Just more of them running around doing nothing.
Yeah, the only thing that even really happens here is, like, I think Slater gets, like, mesmerized by one of the TVs. He's one of the dudes. He looks like all the other dudes. And then it just moves on to the next one.
Yes. Which,
What did you call it?
I called it Sacrifice.
I called it the First Patriots Movement.
Holy shit.
That's what they said.
Yeah, I know, that's funny. I believe it is the one called Holy Hell.
And Jennifer Reeder, this is
Yes. Written and directed by Jennifer Reeder.
So I have a fun story about Jennifer Reeder. And I'm going to tell you whether you want me to or not. So
We do want her to.
But Ben showed me this video performance art piece called White Trash Girl. And it was about this woman who was it was camp. So just know that. But it was this woman.
We love camp.
Me too. You said we, but also me.
She especially.
I'm struggling getting through this story. It's going to be worth it. So yeah, it's about this woman in the beginning who's like in an abusive relationship. She finds out she's pregnant. She's like essentially births the unborn baby into the like trap or into the toilet and flushes it. This little baby goes down the toilet. It goes into the sewers and it becomes like a fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ass situation. Like,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Baby, Teenage Mutant Ninja Baby.
So she became a superhero and her name is White Trash Girl. And I loved it so much. She reminded me of Sherry Moon Zombie. She was fucking awesome. And the fact that my professor said that this made him think of me. Yeah, so one day my friends and I were chatting and we were like, well, what would White Trash Girl do? And I was like, that's a tattoo.
That's that too.
So I have on my hands, if anyone ever asks, this means what would White Trash Girl do? So Jennifer Reeder, years ago, affected me in a deep way. And now we get to talk about her little segment.
Which is so cool because
I saw her name and freaked.
This is my other favorite of this film. I find it hysterically funny.
It's very White Trash Girl, so I totally didn't even...
It's so... On face value, if you're not thinking about it, and if you really are, like, blindly watching it, it looks one way. And if you're actually paying attention, it's making fun of that instead.
Absolutely.
And I find it just hysterically camp. I think it's so fucking funny. And then on top of that, there's a vampire. So we're going to talk about Holy Hell, which I think is a great name.
I do too.
Hers is my favorite name now. Our names have been my favorite so far, but she did a good job.
Yeah.
So it starts off We get these real country boys in rednecks in this barn. Guns. They go up to this guy that they have all chained up. He's crying and pleading with them, like, please, please, no, no, no. And they just fucking blow his brains out.
Yep.
And when you're watching this, you're like, what the fuck?
It just starts like that.
Yeah. Like, you're thrown into it. And you're immediately, I mean, especially if you listen to us, if you know us, you kind of know where we stand on a lot of things when it comes to that. And it is very jarring and very unsettling to be immediately thrown into that. And you're like, oh, these are my protagonists?
Question mark?
Question mark? Not really. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks absolutely horrible with no context. And it is bad, but it's not, like, as bad.
That's true.
Like them, like, shooting the guy's brains out. It's like, oh my god. But then you're like, oh. And then you're like, oh my god. Which is why it's so cute.
It is. It's just ridiculous. Like, these are the worst fucking guys. Like, they're just, like, so annoying. They're screaming about their first patriot movement. I said it gives me Proud Boy vibes for sure.
Yes. Oh my god. Good old boys. He's talking about a mass cleansing. It's very much super ultra conservative. I don't care if you're Republican, that's fine. This is like the extreme ultra conservative crazy right wing. I mean, like, flat earther, like, beyond the moon, like, over the top, absolutely insane. They're a cult. It is a cult.
Yeah.
Where they are, they talk about the filthy America and getting back to purity.
And how Detroit, Michigan is a cesspool.
And fuck you, Detroit's awesome.
I like Detroit.
Yeah.
I love Michigan.
Yeah, I do too. And it just, like, the thing that's so scary about listening to him is if you've ever worked downtown in really any major city, you'll walk, down a street and pass a corner on a random Saturday at 2 p.m, and there's a guy with a megaphone, calling everyone whores and telling everyone how they're all going to hell, and he'll point to you and be like, you are a slut, and blah, blah, blah. And you just, like
I love
this
when
rhetoric
they call
is
them masturbators.
Yes. It is the rhetoric is too familiar. You're like, I have heard this before from real fucking people.
Oh, 100%. They used to do it on campus.
Yeah.
I'm just like...
And I went to a private college, so we rarely got that. We got those, what was that one church that went around?
The Westboro Baptist?
Yeah, Westboro came to my college, the tiniest little liberal arts college, and we had a field day with them. I skipped 3 classes to protest against them. May have taken my shirt off. Definitely made out with some girl in the middle of the street.
I would like to see that footage.
It was super gay. I liked it.
I liked it, and I wasn't even there.
Yeah. It was anyway. But it just what this guy is saying, it just sounds too familiar. They're all, and then they shoot their guns off. They're wasted. It feels like these people could be like 2 towns over, maybe even just down the block.
100%.
Depending on where you live.
Yeah. But then we cut to the scene where they're like surveying this heavily like secured building, and we're like kind of left to wonder like, what's that place?
Yeah. And yeah, they're like doing some scouting, and it's just very like, oh god, this feels very terroristy. They're white nationalists. That's a best way to describe it. Like, they are homegrown terrorists in the realist sense, but they have a very, very special weapon. And that's the fun thing about this skit is, let's take the most evil of real humans. Like, let's take somebody who is downright awful, but someone you could find right down the street or on any corner of any downtown on a Saturday afternoon, or any campus spewing this shit. Let's take them, and let's say they have a weapon of mass destruction. Let's write a short on it. And that's what she did. And that's so fucking cool, because then on top of that, it's not, they have a weapon of mass destruction. It's not like they got a bomb. It's not like they have anthrax. It's not like they, got a hold of some launch codes. They have a vampire. Their fucking thing is a vampire, because the next day they go into that same place and they shoot that same guy in the head. And you're like, what?
I was a little confused at first. I was like, is this guy, like, regenerating? Like, does he have, like, are they, like, doing... I was like, there's no way they're...
loop?
Yeah, I was like, there's no way they're smart enough to do experiments to, like, bring him back to life or clone him.
And they keep talking about sunlight when they're casing that building. They're like, oh, well, the sun hits this time. And they're talking about the abomination detonating. And we're like, what is this thing? What are they using it for? And this is... Jeff did not like this movie, but he liked this scene because some militia guy, it's a militia, some arms dealer comes to sell them like a bunch more guns for their, little thing that they're going to do. And he's like, well, are you sure it's going to work? And then the next day, the leader's guy is like, well, we're going to test it. And so we see them like shoot the guy, and then they collect some of the blood, and then they... Okay, so then they're in this field and it's almost sunrise, and they take this pure white as the fucking driven snow bunny, the cutest bunny, and they inject it with this thing's blood, and then the sun comes over the trees and they're like, well wait, and it's this fucking humongous explosion.
It's so fucked up.
That bunny gets wrecked. It is like huge, like
they
pack
like
of
knocked
dynamite.
them over,
and like all of them had like black faces, like it's like a pack of dynamite.
It was insane.
That poor bunny.
Ooh.
Yes. So we get so yes, that's a very funny scene. But she, even more so than some of the others, is putting a lot of, like, depth, I think, to her story with, like, the things this guy is saying. Like, God has given, this weapon to us for our purpose, for our cause. We are the righteous. And, she's... Again, like I was saying, at face value, if you are blindly watching this, you can see this as like, oh, you can almost root for these guys because they're our protagonists, but she's 100% making fun of this. She is 100% like, you're supposed to look at these guys and be like, you're fucking stupid and ridiculous and batshit balls to the wall crazy, but she's using these words and these phrases that real life people like this use, because they will always find a way to, whatever they find, they can find the worst thing ever, a vampire, a creature that you don't think exists, and they'll say, oh, well, this was sent to me, for me, by God, and whatever I want to do with it is what's right, because God sent it to me, so I'm going to use it for this thing, and I'm right. And there are people who actually think that way about whatever happens in the world. And she's calling these fucking people out. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
It's just got so much more like social value than I think a lot of the other stories, and like social commentary.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Especially with like the state of our,
very topical.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I love Jennifer Reeder.
Yes, I think she's amazing. Anyway, later that night, they're celebrating because the next day they're going to do their thing. Bob and some other guy go to fuck with
Steve.
Go to fuck with the vampire for some reason.
Bob called Steve a pussy if he wouldn't go with him.
I wrote, Bob sucks.
Bob does suck.
So then they go and they're like fucking around with the corpse of but he's not dead, kind of dead. I don't know.
And he falls on the guy and like his brain juice gets on him.
Gets into his mouth, and
so gross.
It's so fucking disgusting. And so then these alarms start going off. The guys outside are freaking the fuck out. Like, who's missing? Who was on duty? What the fuck?
Oh my god. Fuck.
And they're calling out. They're like, Steve, is that you? And they go to like the little like area where they have the creature like cordoned off, and fucking Steve's head just comes flying out.
No, that wasn't Steve's head.
Was it Bob's head? They throw someone's head out into the snow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Bob's head, because then Steve comes running out.
Yes.
And he's covered in the vampire
They're
blood.
like, don't do that, you idiot. You're covered in vampire blood. And that's
he
the only
explodes.
time you say that, they hear that word.
Then
Yes.
he explodes, yeah.
He does explode.
But that was, I'm pretty sure, Bob's head that they threw.
You're right. Because I wrote Steve's head rolled out, and then I also wrote Steve blows up. So I'm dumb. Bob's head rolls out, and then Steve explodes.
And then one of the dudes gets on a fucking, like, a turret gun and, like, accidentally shoots.
Just starts randomly firing and shoots a bunch of people, so then someone shoots him in the head, and I was very confused on that part.
Well, it's because these men clearly didn't know how to use these weapons, and
They're stupid.
He didn't know the power behind it, so he shot, like, 3 people.
Of their own people.
Yeah. And then that guy shot him in the head.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much the end of that one. Right?
Huh?
That's pretty much the end. What else happens?
Oh, yeah, you get to finally see the monster, and he's got this, like, the vampire.
Yeah.
And you get to see his, like, Venus flytrap looking mouth. It very much reminded me of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
Oh my god, yeah. One of the best horror movies ever.
I absolutely agree.
So good.
But yeah, and I like that it said, Christ won't save you now, and then the man blew them all up. That's what I wrote.
I love that.
But yeah, so that's the end. I just thought it was important to talk about.
Oh, yeah,
because that was really, the design of, like, the vampire was really cool.
Oh my god, yeah. So cool.
I liked it a lot.
That's the thing, like, even if you don't like these movies for whatever purpose, a lot of these, other than, like, the video game one, have really cool practical effects. And just really cool effects in general. Like, they're spooky little stories. They're not perfect, but I think they're awesome.
I do too.
But then we get back to, again, our framing device. And it gets to... So 2 of the cops were these women, and 1 was this guy, and they, like, tie him up, and they're like, you thought this was a drug raid? No.
It's like a fucking sex...
Something, we make the videos, or...
Snuff films. I don't know.
I don't understand it. That's the thing, I don't... Maybe that's why Jeff hates this. Anyway, the point of these films is never the wraparound device, and it's rarely good.
Yeah.
Even the first one doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, what are they really doing?
I think the first one is probably the best wraparound that I've seen, though.
Yeah.
In the series.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as found footage goes, this is such a solid franchise. I mean, it's such a cool concept. Like, I absolutely hope they keep making more of these.
We'll
get people like Jennifer Reed and all these other acclaimed directors who will take time out of their lives to make these shorts of what I assume are just crazy things that they think of
and have always wanted to do.
Yeah, and I love giving people like that the opportunity to do that kind of stuff, because then, like, yeah, this movie isn't perfect. Yeah, some people might not, it might not be their favorite of the series, but you can't tell me that Raatma isn't amazing. Like, you can't convince me. Sorry. You can't convince me that this last one, holy hell, or whatever, isn't super fucking funny. Like, I laughed my ass off.
I did too. It was really funny.
So, they're just fun. They're just fun horror movies that you can laugh at, have a good time with. Even if you don't want to deep dive into them, it's not something that, like... I don't know, the number 23, not a perfect movie, but like where you have to like figure out every little thing to like, it's just a fun, laid back fucking anthology. And we don't get a lot of those, I feel like.
I agree. And like I said in the beginning, like the two subgenres of horror that I've really been into, I mean, the most lately, but I mean, in general, I also really like they're up there, but found footage and anthologies.
Yeah.
And I heard rumor that they're making a second Trick or Treat movie, which is something I have been like praying for, because Trick or Treat is easily one of the best anthologies.
Oh my God.
All time.
Of ever. And it is absolutely an anthology, but it also comes together in the end, which makes it even harder to make that kind of anthology, because then the whole fucking story. Trick or Treat is honestly the perfect Halloween movie.
It really is.
And we, this past Halloween, me, you, and Ashley got together. We carved pumpkins. We painted little, I have my little coffin right over there. We painted little coffin shelves. And we watched Trick or Treat in the background. And
it was so fun.
It's just so much fun. That's probably a stay tuned, honestly. I think that would be really fucking fun to cover.
Yeah. Can I wear my little, I have like the little vampire boy mask.
Yes.
Wrong way.
Oh my God, that's so fucked up.
So I shouldn't wear it?
No, you should absolutely wear it. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and you have to do that a few times.
Wrong way.
We need to wear more costumes on this set.
I am so down.
So anyway, that's the end of that movie. I don't know much more I can say about it other than I like it. First one's probably still my favorite. I apparently really need to go back through the second one.
I really like it.
Yeah. You don't have the Google Docs on your phone, do you, for the schedule?
I might.
Because I don't really remember what we're doing next week. But this weekend, so either next week or the week after, actually I think it'll be next week then, will be Cocaine Bear, because we're going to see Cocaine Bear this weekend. Yes, so next week will be Cocaine Bear, and then the week after that we're going to do Hatching. I fucking love Hatching. It came out last year. Katie and I went to go see it, and several times just went, Bird Girl! Because we love Bird Girl. Katie, if you're listening, we love Bird Girl.
I have no idea what this is.
It's so fucking hilarious. It's in Finnish, I want to say. It's so good. You're gonna fucking love it, seriously. So we're gonna do Cocaine Bear.
Which will be
everyone's
hilarious.
Been talking about it. It looks hilarious. And then on top of it, like, Ray Liotta is in it. And it's not a deep fake. Like, it's Ray Liotta. Like, this feels like... I didn't know we were getting another movie. You know? Like, we lost him. Like, that's so fucking cool. It's like when The Hunger Games came out after Philip Seymour Hoffman died. And it was like, he's on screen. That's so cool. I miss him.
Yeah.
So, I just think that's cool. So we're going to cover that. I'm really excited. I don't know beyond that. Make sure you request if you want anything ever covered ever.
Yes.
We will take any request on. Although if it really sucks, we may just be like, hey, no. But we love you anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, just other than that, we are going to do an episode on internet horror kind of stuff in the future. So if you have anything you want us to discuss, we're going to just talk about it in general. But in the meantime, make sure that you follow us on social media.
Yes.
At Deepers Creepers on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe and like the YouTube channel.
Like it.
And whatever podcast, whatever you listen to, please rate us, especially if you listen to us on iTunes. Rate us 5 stars. 5 stars, Angel. 5 stars.
5 stars, Angel.
And yeah, and then of course, if you have any requests or anything like that, email us deeperscreeperspod@gmail.com. But yeah, until next time.
We love you guys.
We love you.
Stay spooky.
Bye.